Hi, I'm Dana, and today we've got a little bit of a different video because I've mentioned in videos that I grew up overweight, I used to be fat, things like that. But it's been a good little while since I went into anything like in depth. And I've just been seeing a lot of content and having a lot of conversations with friends about like fat phobia and the way that people react to fat people and that type of thing lately. And it's made me really reflect on a lot of experiences and made me want to talk about it. So to like give you my credentials, I suppose, my highest weight was around 380 pounds. I spent the majority of like from when I was maybe like 16 up until I was about 20, maybe 19, 20. I weighed around 300 pounds the entire time, and then I had like the phase where I suddenly put on a bunch more weight. Like I'd always sort of like gained weight slowly, so as much as like I was putting on weight pretty much throughout my life, I was also growing and, you know, stopping being a child and going through puberty and all of that, so it wasn't as obvious. I think it felt like I was still just growing, whereas once I'd gotten into like my later teenage years and then started putting on weight, that was a very like, oh, like this isn't some like hormonal thing, this isn't like my body changing as I grow up, like this is just me actively putting on weight. And then in like 2018 or 2019 I decided to go vegan, and it was the best choice I ever made. And the weight just like, I didn't really, obviously I went vegan, so I did completely technically change my lifestyle and diet, but because of the way that I did it, I was very like, you know, I'm autistic, I have my safe foods, I have the things that I always eat, I'm just going to continue eating those things, but I'm going to have to make my own pizza with vegan cheese now instead of ordering. Or if I order, I'm going to have to order it without cheese. You know, like when I want pasta, I can't cover it in cheese and use like real cream to make my sauce for it and stuff. So just making all of those little switches meant that I now had a much healthier diet, so I started naturally losing weight. And obviously, as someone who'd grown up, like I had always been overweight. I was a big baby, I was like chubby as a toddler, like I was always the fat kid in any room that I was in pretty much. But I'd obviously had like many years of yo-yo dieting, eating disorders, general like unhealthy eating habits, having people shame me and try to force me to lose weight, including my own parents. It was a whole lot of bad things that I think that most people who grow up overweight will experience, honestly. And growing up with undiagnosed autism as well as being fat, I do think like had a degree of like influence. It influenced how I was treated by other people, you know? Like I feel like a lot of the stories that I hear of, especially like AFAB people growing up with undiagnosed autism, they often didn't quite know what was going on. They didn't know what was wrong. People would be mean, people would be rude, people would bully them, and they didn't necessarily know why that was happening. And for me, it wasn't until my teen years that people started like picking on me for the way that I behaved and the things that I did. My entire childhood, I was just bullied for being fat. That was all I ever heard. And even in my like later teen years and later school years, it was still like the main thing that people like caught on to. And then I'd react to the bullying in a weird way, and then they'd be like, oh my god, you're a freak as well. And it's one of those things where I do think that if I'd been skinny, I would have just gone unnoticed a lot more often. People wouldn't have like seen my body and been like, we can pick on this bitch, and then had me react weirdly and been like, and you're weird too, this is great, you know? And I also think that a lot of my like quirks and weirdness that come from being autistic would have been accepted, overlooked, seen as being quirky and cute instead of me being a freak, you know, things like that. I definitely think that being a fat person massively influenced the way that my autistic traits were registered, and people registered them in a much more negative light than they would if I was skinny. And that's one of the things that I feel very confident saying, because I've had people point out like autistic traits and be like, oh my god, that's so cute and quirky, and it's the exact same autistic traits that I was being bullied for, you know? Like I've had people tell me it's so cool that I don't make eye contact very often because my eyes are like so piercing and stunning when I finally do make eye contact. Whereas when I finally made eye contact as a kid, people would be like, oh, you're finally looking at something, you never look at us, do you? You know, like the exact same behaviour, the exact same things that I do are registered as me being like so cute and quirky and delicate and unique. When I was fat, it was just me being weird and being a freak, and everyone hated it. And I think that's also what ties in when men especially comment on my videos, because I made a whole video about how like men claim that it's more, not all men obviously, but a whole bunch of men like to come into my comments and claim that it's way more difficult for them to be autistic because they're socially ostracised and I'm not because I'm a woman. And it's like, no dude, like up until like 3 years ago, I was very heavily socially ostracised just for being fat, never mind the autistic traits on top of that. Like even without being autistic, just the reaction that people have to people who are overweight, people who are fat, people who are obese, however you want to say it. I always just called myself fat because I was like, that's a fucking fact, and everyone else is calling me that, I may as well call myself it too. Like I don't think that fat needs to be a negative description, even though I know societally it is. You know, whatever you want to say about it, whatever you want to call people that have that body type, people's reactions to you are just automatically much more negative, and it's insane to me. And especially as someone who's lost weight, one of the things that really bothers me and really confuses me and really annoys me is the amount of people who have lost weight and all of a sudden they're like, it's so easy, stop being fat, just lose weight, I did it. And it's like, I happened to be at a point in my life where it suddenly felt really easy for me to change my diet to one that I felt much more comfortable with and that I believed in, that I was like, yes, this is better for me and the planet and blah 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 blah. You know, like, it just happened that way after decades of binge eating and dieting and not eating at all and purging and just like every unhealthy thing that you can do to try and lose weight I've been doing, you know. And that being said, every healthy thing you could try and do to lose weight I'd done as well, you know. Like, I'd eaten salads for fucking months, I'd worked out, I'd done all of the stuff that you're told to do to lose weight, and then all of the stuff that you're told you're not supposed to do to lose weight because it's unhealthy, and it never fucking worked. I don't understand how people, like, I guess it's probably people that have been fat for a short period of time, I suppose, and then just managed to lose it. Because after everything that I went through while trying to lose weight, I can't imagine looking at a fat person and being like, I did it, so you can too. Like, it is fucking difficult. And that's from someone who, like, I don't, you know, as far as I know, there's nothing going on with me, like, medically. You know, I don't have any, like, thyroid issues or hormonal issues or whatever else can go on to cause you to gain or lose weight. You know, like, we just don't know what's going on with other people. I think it's insane that we're so ready to treat them so negatively based on their body type. And it's the type of thing where I do think that people probably would have investigated what was going on with me in multiple ways much earlier in my life if I hadn't been fat, you know? I had several years where my mum was taking me back and forth to the doctors because I had just excruciating, like, knee, hip, shoulder, back of, like, the back of my neck, my spine. I get a lot of pain, like, under here. Oh, I just showed you my sweat patch, sorry, deal with that. You know, like, I was in physical pain from the age of, like, 7, and every time my mum took me to the doctors, they'd either tell me it was growing pains or it was just because I was fat. And it's like, I'm sorry, sure, I was a fat kid. No 7-year-old, like, I was not a fat enough 7-year-old that my body being in physical pain was caused by my weight. It's insane. And now as an adult who's lost all of that weight and been in pain the entire time, all of a sudden, oh, maybe it's EDS, maybe you have this thing going on, maybe it's actually a medical thing and not just, you know, us pretending it's because you're fat. You know, like, there's plenty of studies and stuff that you can look into that show that fat people don't receive appropriate medical care for a multitude of different things because everyone wants to just assume that it's because you're fat. So I do think that that applies to mental things as well, you know. Like, I can't tell you how many times I went to the doctors and told them, like, I'm so anxious, I'm so depressed, I feel like I'm literally about to, like, reach the end of my fucking rope, my guy. And they'd be like, have you ever eaten a salad? Have you ever tried going for a walk or even doing an actual workout? Have you? And I'd be there like, I haven't eaten for 3 days. I work out every fucking day at the minute. I'm doing yoga, like, on top of the workout. Like, I'm doing everything I can for my mental and physical health, and I'm still fucking fat and I'm still fucking sad, and you should do something. But they didn't. They'd just be like, silly girl, lose some weight and you'll be fine. Lose some weight and you won't be sad anymore. And it's like, no, buddy, I'm autistic, you know? Maybe if someone had, like, listened to me and actually thought about what was going on with me instead of going, fat girl sad, you know, with this, like, assumption of, like, of course the fat girl's sad because she's fat and fat people can't be happy. You know, like, maybe fucking look into what's going on. It makes me so incredibly angry because it is just straight up medical negligence. And it's all very well and good that for me it meant that I wasn't noticed as being autistic earlier. And, you know, maybe it's nothing to do with that. It's just how I've made connections in my brain and how I'm looking at things. I do think it's played a part into it. I don't think it's necessarily the main part, but I do think it's played into it. And that sucks to be me. But for a lot of other people, like, people have died because doctors have looked at them and been like, nah, it's because you're fat, when they have genuine medical issues, you know? Like, it's... I realistically have suffered the least from this type of issue. Much worse things happen to other people purely because they're fat and people can't be asked listening to them and taking them seriously. You know, I don't do, like, the big, like, what if and imagination hypotheses very often because they are completely useless and there's no point. But I do also, like, as much as things are the way they are and that's all fine and good, I do honestly think that my life would probably be quite different to how it is if I just hadn't grown up fat and had never been fat, you know? The way that people treat me now as a thinner person, the way that people react to me and the way that I am as a thinner person, people are so fucking nice, you know? People are so willing to help me. People are willing to go out of their way to help me when I need help. I can just, like, ask random people, and even if they can't personally help me, I'll get referred to someone else. And we're talking, like, like people in fucking coffee shops, my fucking minister, things like that, you know? And it's so weird to have this constant weight of like, would you be being as nice to me if I was still fat? You know? And I've had so many, like I said, I have talked about this in videos before quite a while ago, and so many people were like, oh, it's just not worth thinking about though, is it? Because you'll never know. And it's like, no, but I will, because at some point they're gonna meet a fat person, and you know, there's a good chance that if it's like a close friend or someone I get along with or whatever else, I might fucking be there. Like, I've had people that I like, that I've thought were good people, that I've gotten on with and everything, and then when a fat person's spoken to them, they're just like, and so dismissive and could not give a shit and just don't want to speak to them. And I can only, you know, the only hint that I've been given as to why that is the fact that it's a fat person. I don't want to be friends with that person anymore, you know? Like, they wouldn't have fucking liked me if I was still fat. Why are you making these judgments about people based on their fucking body size? I don't want to be friends with a person like that. You know, it does matter. So yeah, in the spirit of Sunday videos, this is a bit more like disjointed and not as much of like an obvious point and that kind of thing. But it is just sort of like a combination of a bunch of thoughts that have been playing on my mind and things that I don't like and things that I think should change. And, you know, like, if I don't talk about them, no one knows that I think it, I suppose. I'd like to think that perhaps talking about this kind of thing, you know, like, the unfortunate truth of it is that people who are shitty to fat people are more likely to listen to me than they are to a fat person. So I would like to think that maybe doing this type of content could elicit some sort of change in someone's brain. You know, like, just one person not making someone's fucking day worse is worth it, you know? But that is the end of the video. I'm gonna go now. You can follow me here if you'd like. I'd love it if you subscribed, if you like this type of content. Pretty much anything I talk about is through the lens of being autistic, because that's what this channel's about. Please don't do the whole like, oh, you only ever think about autism, because like I do have a whole life outside of making these videos where I am just existing as a person and doing my best. It's just for these videos that I'm like, everything is autism. So like, chill out. If you want to see even more of me, you can also follow me over on TikTok and Instagram. I'll link them down below. And also linked down below will be my Ko-fi and Patreon, where you can also donate. You can follow, and you can also donate monetarily to me there. You don't have to. There's no pressure. There's no like, I don't like you any less as a viewer if you don't pay me to watch the videos, you know? Like, I'd like the fact that they're here and free for you to view. But if you would like to help me out a little bit, because I am, as you can see from the fucking boxes, I'm still trying to move house. It's fucking hard and expensive and absolutely killing me. But once I've actually done it, it's going to be fab and great and lovely, so we're getting to it. So yeah, no pressure, but if you want to, much appreciated. And for now, whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you're having a lovely morning, evening, day, afternoon, week, month, year, and I will see you again in a couple of days.